Hello, everyone. Nice to have you here. So please welcome our next presenter. It is Yulia Kasarenko. She is a conference speaker, consultant, a corporate trainer. She is also the author of the book Business Analyst, A Profession and Mindset. Yulia is also the owner of What Change Consulting Corporation. She is the professor of business analytics at Humber College. She is a wonderful mentor and, of course, analytics expert. Today, Yulia will bring you some insights of building an analytics-driven company as a BA. So, Yulia, word to you.
Thank you very much, Valeria. Hello, everyone. I hear it's an exciting conference. Let me just share my screen with you, and we'll talk a little bit about how a business analyst can become a partner in building an analytics-driven company. And I heard Jan talking just now how we shouldn't look at business analysts as only scribes, and I totally agree with it. And more, we have to become trusted partners in our organizations and not just someone from IT, not just someone documenting requirements. So we'll talk a little bit about AI trends really briefly. I'm sure you talked about AI trends a lot and you hear it all the time. We'll talk about aspirations versus reality and what can business analysts do to mitigate some failures that we can see in AI and data science projects today. And of course, we'll wrap up with what you can do to develop your own career in this direction and to become that trusted partner. So what is artificial intelligence? I know we talk about it a lot, but it really helps to reinforce the definition. It's about developing computer systems that can perform the tasks that normally require human intelligence. So understanding speech, drawing pictures, coming up with stories, being emotionally interested in another person, feeling empathy. Those are all things that human beings can do. So it's quite a tall task to build a system that is able to actually do the same. So what are some of those AI applications that we are already seeing today? Visual perception, recognizing images or self-driving cars. Large language models, they can speak to us back and create poems and write executive summaries for us. Embedded analytics in a business process, in manufacturing, in any workflow that a business manages today. Reinforcement learning, when machine learning models learn from responses in the environment and improve their own predictions. Search-driven analytics, where a user, a regular person, can type a question, a simple question like, what is the likelihood that we will hit our sales targets by the end of the month? And can analytics platform respond back by looking up the data and driving predictions and employing the right predictive models to give a response to a natural language question? This one, of course, is still kind of early in its development. An emergence of decision intelligence, which means empowering businesses to make more analytics-driven decisions versus kind of gut feel decisions. So these are just some of the AI applications. I know we don't have time to speak about everything, but I just wanted to bring a few examples to emphasize where you as a business analyst can play a role. And of course, it starts with even understanding these AI applications and understanding how can you do this? Like what actually is behind the scenes? What is in the back end of all of these AI applications behind the pipe? So in the back end and empowering all of these different applications is value locked in big data. Some of these require truly large volumes of data, and we all heard how much data was required, for example, to train ChatGPT or to train Midjourney to generate images. A lot of these models require huge amounts of data to be trained and to actually provide value back. So as business analysts, we need to understand what is big data and what does it mean for an organization to be able to collect and process and actually use the big data. So big data relates to anything, any large volumes of data that cannot be processed by traditional means. And by traditional means, we usually mean typical database management systems, relational database management. So big data will have huge volumes, high speed velocity with which data is generated, received, and exchanged, variety of data, which means many different sources and formats and the types of storage, different veracity of data, which relates to how trustworthy the data is. Do you even know where is it coming from? Can you rely on that particular stream of data for making decision? How do you know it's not a malicious party basically feeding you some data on purpose, and so on? And finally, the value. So the value of big data really comes from organization being capable of managing the high volume and the high velocity and variety and veracity of data. So value is not truly a given. It doesn't just come with big data. It needs to be extracted and it needs to be enabled. And we'll talk about how do you enable that. So what I want to highlight today really is there is a gap, there is a chasm between aspirations and reality in applications of AI today. What are the aspirations? AI is shaping our future and data science is a game changer. Data-driven companies rule the world. AI is the future of work. These are all amazing slogans, and some of them probably have a huge, implications for our future. But let's look at the reality of today. So some of the examples from reality. Google hits the headlines for its change in AI. I'm sure you've all seen it just a few weeks ago. Big trouble, a lot of the uproar, and a lot of negative publicity for their recent iteration of AI model. AI meal planner suggests a recipe for chlorine gas when someone asked to propose some new recipes. Again, it's a safety issue. It's a dangerous proposition. Hopefully nobody actually took it seriously, but this is an example where sometimes these AI applications which are out there in the public, meant to be used by regular people, can actually create something completely wrong and even dangerous. Air Canada, and I'm in Canada, so I've read about it a lot. Air Canada defeated in court after its chatbot lies about policies. Again, Air Canada had to take the chatbot down, a lot of negative publicity, unhappy customers, and pretty much the chatbot undermined some of the reputational, status of the company by giving an answer and then going back on that answer. Another example, and you probably all heard about AI hallucinations, where large language models come up with the responses that are untrue, that are made up and fake. And ChatGPT, for example, hallucinates things like court cases when the lawyers are looking up and asking for similar cases to help them in their research. So in reality, there are a lot of failures. I'm not saying that all of it is failure. Of course, we all know about successes because, like our confirmation bias means that we all are interested in successes. We read about it, we watch the videos, but we shouldn't forget about the failures. Some of the failures, of course, stay behind the scenes, but there were some fairly recent surveys that were showing that up to 80% of data science projects may be failing. Some of them fail fairly early, so they never even make it to production. And of course, we don't see those in the press. Some of them do make it to production, and then we see headlines like this. So let's talk a little bit about why it happens and how should we understand it. So what is AI today? Artificial intelligence today, right? AI today, if you look at the main distinction between two types of AI, which are narrow AI and general AI, let's figure out what do we have today. Narrow AI is designed for specific tasks. So these algorithms solve problems that are framed as prediction problems. For example, predict what movie is customer most likely to watch based on what they watched before and based on their profile. That's a narrow task. And these AI algorithms make quantitative predictions by processing, analyzing data. So this is where big data comes in. That data contains patterns, and extracting those patterns help you make predictions. So narrow AI applications are based on predictive problems. What is general AI? General AI means an algorithm or a system that can perform a broad set of tasks just like you and me. It needs to, in some shape or form, imitate a cognitive process, which of course isn't based on large processing of large volumes of data. There are different types of cognitive processes in our brain that are not based on principles similar to machine learning. And general AI is supposed to be able to solve any problem. And what it means is not necessarily the problem that it has solved before. So there is one fundamental difference. Narrow AI, and this is, by the way, all we have today, all of the today's AI applications are narrow. It is solving the problems it was designed to solve, right? So you design a machine learning algorithm to respond to Air Canada customer questions. That's all that chatbot can do. It cannot do any other cognitive task that a human being can do. So what we have to realize that the success of today's AI algorithms relies on data, relies on large volumes of data, and relies on machine learning and deep data mining algorithms that extract patterns from that data and then apply it to make predictions for the future. And that's a really, really fundamental and important thing for us to understand as business analysts if we were to become those partners to our companies and help them use AI in some practical way. Because if you think about it, if you work for a company, you work for a business, you need to always think about return on investment. If I'm investing this much money in this AI project, in this data science project, am I going to get return on investment? What is the value? So we really need to understand what needs to be in place to actually get that value. So we need to focus on understanding that today's AI applications are based on making quantitative predictions by processing and analyzing data. And that applies to even things like creating AI music, as creating pictures, and modifying movies to make the characters when the movie is translated into a different language to make their faces synchronized with a new language. All of it is still based on data. Now, why do AI and data science projects fail? And why so many of them fail? And I feel I'm now going to be repeating some of the messages that John just referred to. So I'm going to be brief, but a lot of the failures are attributed to fuzzy objectives. It's unclear what we're trying to achieve, unclear requirements, poor data management, lack of expertise, lack of trust, lack of ownership on business side, and lack of process integration. And if that sounds familiar, it's of course because Chaos Report for decades talked about these various reasons that any software projects fail, and that relates to data science and AI projects as well. But there are also some specific reasons here, right, related to poor data management, and very important one about lack of trust. So we need to maybe focus on this a little bit more, and I'll talk about data management in a minute. But in terms of lack of trust, think about it. We just mentioned major AI failures. Plus, anytime you're trying as a business to introduce any automation, right? Say, okay, let's automate some of our decisions. What happens? People get worried. Management gets worried. People are thinking about, am I going to lose my job? Okay, if that's the case, I'm not really going to cooperate. So there is also a bit of a fear of AI that exists, and some of it may be justified because we are hearing about some of the jobs maybe going away with the development of AI. But when businesses think about using this technology to improve their business, they have to think of how to build trust, how to introduce these new ideas, and it basically get collaboration back from your stakeholders, which is not that easy. And by the way, we as business analysts, our role is communicating, engaging stakeholders, keeping stakeholders involved. That also will involve building up that trust and their sense of ownership of these maybe future AI-driven applications. So this all brings me back to our role as business analysts in analytics projects and AI. I mean, we can talk about analytics projects as big umbrella for AI, data science, data mining, and any of those terms, because it all goes back to the essence of analytics, which is extracting value from data and using analytical insights from data to make better business decisions. So what is your BA role in that and in mitigating those failures? So first of all, your job is still the traditional, the classic definition of the job of business analyst involves understanding the objectives of the change, what business needs to achieve, what are those goals, and what are the requirements. What do you want to get in future? What features and capabilities you need in the future to be able to make better decisions, and so on. But the second one, very important one, is data understanding, right? Because again, we cannot develop successful AI solutions without having proper data to train those algorithms. So we need to start understanding the data. What do we have? What data sources we have? Which ones we can use? What types of data are available? How much data we need? Is it possible that that data is biased? How do we mitigate against the bias? And a lot of the success of that project will depend on us using the right data and using it the right way. And business analysts are going to be right in the middle, because without business knowledge, without understanding domain, you cannot use the data properly. And the third pillar is business expectation and managing business expectations, and maybe holding someone's hand and explaining to them why you need data, why without good data you cannot make it successful, and managing that problem of trust and the problem of ownership and the issue with stakeholder engagement. Because without that engagement, no project is going to succeed, and AI projects are no different. So what your destination is to become a guide and not a scribe. We're not just scribing, we're not just documenting. And the more technologically advanced is the project, the more you need to be that guide and that bridge between your customer and that technology. So you need to understand the capabilities of technology, what it can and cannot do, explain it to your stakeholders, and then you are truly becoming a partner in that project. So very briefly, skills and knowledge that you need. First of all, traditional business analysis skills. You need to know the domain. You need to know the industry. It's hugely important. You need to understand industry trends, competitive trends, and be up to speed with what's going on. Things like concept modeling, which relates back to a truly fundamental understanding of data and relationships between different groups of data for your business, are important. Things like process analysis, because how can you determine how to embed analytical insights or elements of prediction in your business process without analyzing the process? Root cause analysis. And again, you can use data mining to determine the root cause of business problems, to determine true contributive factors that will then help you make better predictions. So all of these are still important. On the other side, there is data focus. So you need to be fluent in data management. You need to understand the key concepts of data. You need to be involved in data governance, because again, without data governance, you're not going to have good data. You're not going to have good data science results. Understanding how to analyze data. What are the fundamentals of analytics? How determine those analytics requirements? Types and applications of machine learning. And that depends on what are you trying to achieve, what type of prediction are you looking for, what data you have, how much data you have, and that all defines what are you capable of doing in terms of that actual machine learning algorithm, for example. And last but not the least, and very importantly, keeping in mind the privacy and ethical aspects of using AI, again, are very important, and you as business analysts have to think about all types of requirements. So privacy requirements, ethics requirements are part of those projects. And sometimes technical people, get carried away with the technology, with the excitement of the development. But someone needs to remember about the ethics, about ensuring there's no discrimination, there's no bias, there's equal treatment, and all of those very important aspects that can truly get away from us. All right. So really quickly, now what AI can do for us? It can help us if we use AI tools as business analysts, right, for our own job. It can help us increase productivity, take over tedious tasks like research or analyzing, collecting data, research more broadly, because AI, like large language models like ChatGPT, can be pretty good about summarizing data from many sources. We just have to be aware of hallucinations and that we still need to check our sources and validate them. We can analyze faster, again, because we have those powerful tools to help us collect data, analyze data, look at different sources and compare them. We can dig deeper because maybe some of this tedious research can be done by tools. So think about the power behind these tools helping you do your research and your analysis better. It can help you validate requirements. It can help you accumulate organizational knowledge. So just like ChatGPT gathered that knowledge from the internet, companies are now using AI tools to aggregate their organizational knowledge. So all of these things can help you also to do your job better on any project. And these are just a few tools. There is, of course, many, like thousands of AI-based tools. But think about it broadly. You can use AI tools to do research, to check your grammar, to collect data, to create beautiful visualizations, to create PowerPoints, to keep notes, to make automated meeting notes and summaries for your stakeholders, and so many other things. So remember that you also can use AI to make your job more efficient, but it's more broadly, it's about how you can help your organizations use data and use capabilities of analytics to actually make them, improve their customer service or improve their process and so on. And you do that by getting more involved and becoming that trust partner. So I know we started a little late. We only have a couple of minutes. If you are interested to learn more about data management and analytics fundamentals, not just for business analysts, but for anyone involved in data projects, you can check my course. The link is here and the QR code. And I also run a mentorship circle for all analysts who want to improve and survive on difficult projects, survive difficult tasks, and figure out what tools and what techniques to apply to different types of projects and situations. So reach out to me from any channel, YouTube, email, LinkedIn, etc. Thank you so much for inviting me. Hopefully we have a couple of minutes for a few questions, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Yulia. It was a very wonderful presentation. Yes, we have a question, quite interesting one. So, how do you establish the baseline? Where are they now? And the degree of analytics driven a company can be? So, what is the degree of analytics driven in a company?
That's an interesting question. And actually, there are even some uh, articles and grades of analytics maturity in companies. And you can think about it broadly in terms of the types of analytics that company not just is able to produce, but it is using to make decisions. Starting with descriptive analytics, which are your reports and dashboards. That's all we do. We look into the past. The next level up is when companies doing diagnostic analytics. So when you use analytics to determine why something happened, why customers are leaving, why our manufacturing process produces more defects. So that's diagnosis of the root causes. And then the next level up is when companies start to use predictive modeling to try to predict the future. And that's where true decision intelligence starts, by you running predictions, running predictive models to make you better decisions. And beyond that, there is prescriptive analytics, where you literally start to use analytic solutions and machine learning and AI. You can call it AI, to make decisions based on predictions, based on data. So if you want, look up some of my articles, and definitely look into analytics maturity.
Thank you. So, we don't have a lot of time left, but if you have any questions, feel free to contact Yulia and ask her personally. Thank you all. So, let's move on to the next speaker.
Thank you.